Hi.
Hello, Sunday. Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hello.
So, all right. So good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the scheduled meeting of the Higher Education Capital Matching Program Board. I would like to welcome those joining us via Zoom. Before we get started, Sarah Richards of DASNY has a legal announcement to read into the record. Sarah?
Thank you, and welcome everyone to this meeting of the HECAP board. And I would just like to note for the record that as a result of the ongoing public health emergency related to COVID-19, there is an executive order in place that authorizes public boards such as the HECAP board to meet remotely and take authorized actions without permitting public in-person access to the meetings. The public must have the ability to view the meeting and hear the interaction between the members, and the meeting must be transcribed and recorded, which we are doing today. So an audio and video recording of this meeting will be available on the DASNY website, and the proceedings will be transcribed and the transcription posted as soon as practicable thereafter. So for additional information on that, if you are interested, we do have additional information on the DASNY website. So you may go there for additional information if you're so inclined. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. So at this time, for the record, I'm going to ask the members or their designees to identify themselves. Starting with myself, my name is Robert Mujica, representing Governor Kathy Hochul.
My name is Toby-Ann Stavisky, and I am representing the President Pro Tem of the State Senate.
I'm Assembly Member Deborah Glick, and I am the Assembly Speaker designee and representing the New York State Assembly on this board.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Assembly Member. So we have a quorum. I'd like to ask DASNY and its staff who serve the HECAP board to introduce themselves at this time. I'm going to introduce, actually, I'll just introduce Sarah Richards. She's the Managing Senior Director of Governance and Administration, and then Sarah will introduce her staff. Sarah.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have with us today from DASNY, the folks who work on the HECAP program to serve not only the board, but also the colleges and universities who have received grants under this program. So we have Karen Hunter, who is our Director of Grants Administration, Deanne DePace, who is the primary day-to-day contact for the colleges and universities and keeps that the process moving very efficiently. Sean Rosny assists Deanne in that process. And then on the technical side today, we have Amanda Nazario and Deb Fasser, who are also on to help us with all the technical matters that have to be dealt with. So many thanks to them and the work that they do.
Thank you, Sarah. And on behalf of all the board members, I'm sure I want to thank all the staff because I know a lot of work goes into behind the scenes to make these meetings go smoothly and to manage these projects. So thank you to you and your staff.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
At this time, I'd like to move to today's items, the items on today's agenda. The first item being the election of the chair of the HECAP board. Do we have a motion to elect the chair?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second,
Okay. So we have Assemblymember Glick who has moved it and Senator Stavisky has seconded it. So the motion will pass. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the board's March 12th, 2021 meeting. Are there any comments or corrections to the minutes?
Not for me.
Okay. Hearing none, then I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Thank you for moving the minutes. Do we have a second?
second,
Senator, thank you for the second. So that motion also passes. At this time, I'd like Ms. Richards to provide us with a status update on the previously awarded grants. Sarah?
Great, thank you. And I will share my screen. We've done a number of rounds now, so it's actually easier to see graphically where we are. So we have here, we're already in round 5, which is somewhat hard to believe. Let me get this going. Competitive round 1, there was approximately 35.5 million that was awarded back on February 4th, 2016. These were for projects that were completed between April 1, 2014 and March 31st, 2017. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So at this point, 21 grant disbursement agreements have been fully executed. 8 of those were withdrawn, and all eligible projects have now been paid in full from that round, and round 1 is officially closed. Competitive round 2, we had approximately 67 million that was awarded to 39 institutions back in June of 2018. Those were for projects to be completed between August 2017 and August of 2020. Of those, we have 20 projects that have fully executed grant disbursement agreements. 12 were withdrawn, and we do have 7 still in process. Competitive round 3, about $21.2 million was awarded to 35 institutions in 2019 for projects to be completed between August 2018 and August 1 of 2021. At this point in time, we have 8 that have been fully executed, 3 withdrawn, and 24 that are still in process at DASNY, working their way through the process. Competitive round 4, about 57.2 million was awarded to 35 institutions on March 12th, 2021. That was the last time we met, for projects to be completed between September 1, 2020 and September 1st, 2024. Most of those at this point, not surprisingly, are still in process. There's 27 of those. We have 3 grantees who have an executed grant disbursement agreement, and 5 have withdrawn. So at this point, we are looking at a request for grant applications for competitive round 5 that will have up to $65 million available, we estimate at this point, which includes the $45 million authorization this year, as well as the rollover amounts from the prior rounds. And I will say at this point, we have been working to institute, various process improvements over the years to speed up the process, to make it easier for the grantees. And we expect that that will continue and be applicable to the round 5 HECAP grantees. The request for grant application, simplifies the process somewhat in terms of, some of the provisions, some of the language. So we've made those changes, which staff has reviewed. And just for kind of a snapshot of where we are, summing up on a yearly basis, between 2017 and 2019, there were 17 grant disbursement agreements executed for the HECAP grants. And in 2020 to 2022, we have, twice that amount with 35. So between some technology improvements that we've implemented at DASNY, as well as some staffing and structural changes that we've made in the grants unit, we've been able to move things through a lot more quickly. And in looking at all grants, and again, this process will continue over and be applicable to the HECAP grantees as well. We've shortened the amount of time that it takes to get through the process. Back in 2017, before we had the technology and had hired some additional staff, it took about 263 days for a grant to, from the time DASNY received it to administer to the time we completed our review, 263 days on average. In 2022, that number is down to 58. And looking at the average number of days from the time we get the final approvals for a grant to when there's a fully executed grant disbursement agreement, this is the number I like best. In 2017, that was 82 days. A lot of it was still in paper, requiring, ink signatures and emailing back and forth. And in 2022, we've shortened that to only 4 days. So a lot quicker, things move through at this point in time. So again, we anticipate that between the personnel and technology, we should see rounds 3, 4, and 5 that are still spending, 3 and 4 that are still spending down, and round 5 that we're getting going on, that those will move through very, very quickly. So that is where we are in terms of the prior rounds, and we're looking forward to going for round 5. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair. Unless
Before we
there-
move over to the next item of business, do any of the board members have any questions regarding the previous rounds or Sarah's presentation?
Yeah, I just have one, whether there's any consistency as to why there are projects withdrawn. It seems to have dropped off. Was that the length of time it used to take, or were there other considerations why there were applications made and subsequently withdrawn?
What we've heard, and they don't always give us the reason, more recently, COVID has played a role in that. There are some projects that colleges and universities were anticipating proceeding with, and then as a result of the pandemic, they weren't able to. In some cases, what we're hearing back is some of the requirements of the legislation have prevailing wage primarily is an impediment. But I think the number has gone down. Some schools now realize, we've implemented doing webinars for the potential applicants and the grantees. And we've really underscored and highlighted that, as a condition for getting these public dollars, there are certain requirements that the state has determined they have to comply with, prevailing wage, MWBE, so they know it going in. It was a surprise in some of the early rounds because absent getting state money, the colleges and universities as private entities wouldn't have to comply with that. So I think it's a combination of, COVID is a part, and then, just better education and information. And they know it now. A lot of the applicants are, repeat grantees as well. So they're familiar with the requirements.
And it was not so much that they weren't able to, they have to meet a match.
Right.
It wasn't that they were having trouble raising the money so much.
No, that's not something we've heard. They have to, they know going in that they need the match, and it's something that we talk to them about and work with them to identify, funding sources. But that's not been a reason why they've withdrawn that we've heard, is the lack of money.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the matching, the 3-to-1 match also. The money, the institutions that withdrew their applications, does that money go back into the pot?
Yes. Yep.
Or so that presumably
Yep. It
additional
gets
funding
rolled over.
gets
yeah.
rolled over?
Exactly. It gets rolled over, and the same if an institution has a grant for $1 million and they only spend 980,000, let's say, because it comes in under budget, that difference is also rolled over into future
you.
rounds.
Okay. Thank you. No other questions regarding the previous rounds. Then we'll go on to the next item of business, which is to adopt the 5th request for grant applications and the process. So are there any questions regarding the resolution for the 5th round or the process?
Not for me, no.
Okay.
No, I assume that it's based upon the previous rounds and there's been no major changes.
I think that's right. Sarah,
Thank you.
is that correct? Yep.
That is
Okay.
correct.
All right.
Thank you.
So thank you, Senator. So hearing no other questions, I want to ask for a motion to approve the resolution for the 5th round. Do we have a second, a motion to move the resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Do we have a second?
Second,
Thank you, Senator. So the motion is passed. And I guess this concludes the new business before the board. Is there any other business that we have before the board today? Hearing none, I want to thank DASNY staff again for the work done to date. And thank you to the board members for being so cooperative and moving this forward. We
Thank
will
you
now
very
move-
much.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
It's good to see, good to be seen. Good to see everyone. So do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes, I so move.
Motion to adjourn. We have a second.
Second,
All right, motion is passed. The meeting is now adjourned. Again, thank you, everyone.
thank you.
And we'll see you all very soon. Thank you.
Great.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.